Hello and welcome to Skitty Animates. I'm Skitty and today we're going to talk about a viewer requested topic. This Elian says, it would be nice to have a video on how to block animation better with references. This is a great topic because using a reference is so important. But today we're not only going to discuss blocking, we're also going to talk about preparing to use a reference, polishing with a reference, and the legality of using a reference. Because it's very important to know what you can and cannot do when using a reference. So let's get started with prepping for reference. The first thing you're going to do is find a reference. For our example today, I chose a short dance move from the new Blackpink music video, Kill This Love. Let's watch this clip now. The next thing to do, which may seem redundant, but I promise you it isn't, is to recreate your reference by acting it out yourself. You'll obviously skip this step if your reference is like an idle animation for a beetle or something, but even if you're like me and don't have the ability to move your spine, it's still a very useful step. So let's watch me fail at dancing. No one has to see this clip except for you, unless you put yourself on blast like I just did on the internet, so don't be afraid to go somewhere private and put on your best performance. And not just once, do it 10, 20 times. Then watch your clip and then recreate it 10 or 20 more times, even if your dancing looks like mine. This isn't only for you to look at as a reference. This is also so when you're posing out your character, you have that information in your brain bank of how the body actually moves. This will make your motion look more fluid and less like left arm moves from point A to point B. Now once we're ready to go, let's jump into Maya. When it comes to animating from a reference, I find it difficult to animate pose to pose as I would normally do. So my method is more of a blend between pose to pose and straightforward animating. First things first, we're going to copy your frame 1 pose from the reference. So you'll want to have Maya and your reference open at the same time, and I recommend using a program like QuickTime. And the great thing about QuickTime is that if you click on the time code of your reference, you can change it from showing the time code to showing the frame number, and this will help you cross-reference your frame 1 to their frame 1. In this clip, my reference is the full music video, so my frame 1 is actually frame 2620. So in the reference, I will find frame 2620. If I click close and use the arrow keys, the left and right arrow keys, I can scrub through each individual frame and find 2620. Once you have your frame 1 posed, it's time to figure out what your keyframes actually are. You can figure this out as you go, but I find it faster to scrub through QuickTime with the left and right arrow keys and jot down on a piece of paper what the key poses are. As you can see here, I have the key poses written in brown and I have the key in-betweens written in red. To determine the key poses, what I do is find the frame that shows the most extreme part of the pose. And this will be the frame right before the body starts shifting in a different direction. For example, we go over to Photoshop. I'm going to draw a hip box here. Pretend these are a character's hips. So let's say the movement of the hips is going to go up this way, and then it's going to go down this way. What I would determine as the key poses is key pose 1, key pose 2, and key pose 3. Key pose 1 is the starting position. Key pose 2 will be the frame right before it starts the second action, and key pose 3 will be your ending position. The rest of the information in this dip down is also important, but it's not the foundation of what we're doing, so it's not considered a key pose. Let's go back to Maya and click through what I've determined to be the key poses. As you can see here, I have both red and green keys on my time slider. The red keys are my key poses, and the green keys are my breakdowns. So if we look through the red keys, I have 2620, 2640, 2654, 2662, 2672, 2694, 2712, and 27, 29. Once you've determined your key poses, you're going to determine what your key in-betweens are, which you might have guessed will be the frame in between your key poses at which the action is at the most extreme. So let's click through and see where we stand. Now that we have our key in-betweens, we can go through and add some assisting in-betweens, but don't go crazy yet, we're still only blocking. This is where you would take a hip motion like this. Got 3 keys here, and we would turn it into this. So it's still not smoothed out, but it's got more information. So this will take us to the end of our blocking phase, but because we are kind of straightforward animating, keep in mind it's going to look bad. Let's go back to Maya and take a look at what we have. As you can see, all of the information is here, but it looks janky. It's evenly timed with a ton of hiccups. So how do we go about polishing this monstrosity? Well, let's start with Tween Machine. Selecting your entire character, since every control should be keyed on all of your keys already anyway, watch your reference and start adding in your eases. Since we made sure to add our keys at the very end of an action, you're going to put your Tween Machine poses before your keyframes. So watch your reference as many times as you need to and determine what frame would work as the beginning of the pose. That's where you're going to put your Tween Machine frame. Once you've gone through and done that on all of your keys, we can move on to the polishing phase. So let's open this other Maya file where I've already done the polish. Starting with the hip control, or multiple if that applies, completely polish that control before moving on to the next. If the rest looks ugly while you work, that's okay. Typically, I'll polish the hips, then the feet, the spine, the arms and shoulders, but only one side at a time, and always working down from shoulder to elbow to wrist to fingers, then the neck, then tweak anything that isn't flowing together smoothly. The reason I only do one arm at a time is because you want them to have different feels to them. Even if they're doing the same action, you want it to feel like a coincidence if they hit on the same frame. By doing the arms separately, they will have slightly different ease values, which will make the character feel more lifelike. I'll save this for a topic on another video, but if you know how to utilize motion trails, not paths, but trails, this is the perfect time to whip those out and smooth out your arcs. Just make sure that you polish the hips first because it will affect all of your other movement. So now let's watch the finished polish. I could probably spend a whole extra day polishing this, but I'm gonna let it slide for the sake of an example. Now that we know how to properly use a reference, let's talk about what you can and cannot do while referencing. My example today is something you cannot do. Choreography in music videos like Blackpink would be trademarked. This example is not for profit and for the purpose of education, which makes it okay, but if you're working on a TV show, movie, game, etc., do not take dance choreography this way. You could, however, use this dance as a starting point and change it up into your own creation. You could switch some moves around, you could act it out yourself, and then you have a new reference. When it comes to actions like throwing a baseball, any other sports action, walking, eating, anything a human does that cannot be trademarked, you are fully within your rights to use. You could copy these things frame for frame if you wanted to. This also applies to referencing animals. There's a chance whoever filmed the footage could have trademarked their specific footage, but the action that's done by the animal in the footage cannot be trademarked, so you are still fully in your rights to copy it in your animation. Anyway, I think that's enough information for one day. If there's anything you didn't understand, just leave a comment below and I'll help you the best that I can. Like and subscribe if you learned something, and links to socials are in the description. Until next time, thanks for watching.